Welcome to the Purpose Collective, where vision meets action and purpose fuels power. Today, I'm honored to sit down with two extraordinary leaders who exemplify what it means to lead with purpose and impact. Edie Fraser and Sharon Reynolds. Together, Edie and Sharon have lived their lives building purposeful legacies through mentorship and entrepreneurship and a dedicated commitment to lifting others as they lead. In today's conversation, we will explore the why behind their work, what drives them, what lessons have shaped their leadership, and how do they continue to use their platforms to make a difference today and for the next generation. This is more than just a conversation. This is a masterclass in leadership. Let's dive in. First, thank you both so much for being here today and for all the work you do to lead with purpose. To start us off, I'd love to hear about your individual journeys. Can you each share a pivotal moment in your life or career when you truly felt called to a greater purpose? Edie, we'll begin with you.
Thank you, Esther, and to my sister, Sharon Reynolds. I'm so thrilled that our lives have merged together around purpose, because purpose, we've learned, is not just about business. It's about life and being there for others and elevating and celebrating those that give you purpose and passion. When I grew up in Atlanta, I was so concerned, not only with civil rights, but that we felt there was a calling. And when I went to Duke University, and the day that John F. Kennedy gave his inaugural speech, I saw the call to action, which was really service is greater for the nation and the world. So it was so important that I said, and I'd been on 5 different international exchange programs, I'm going to Washington and I'm going to go work for the Peace Corps. And with that, it just drove me to learn. I became a desk officer for Africa, went back and forth. And then I joined the poverty program when Martin Luther King was shot and Bobby Kennedy was shot, and said, what are we doing for this nation? And I then went and had the opportunity to go to run the country's health program for communications and ran the anti-tobacco campaign and other campaigns to really help with purpose what it meant for healthcare for Americans and the world. And then went to set up a public affairs firm based on, my first company was based on consumerism, of giving back, of what consumers really needed and wanted, and worked with companies. And then when I set up the World Diversity Best Practices, we built programs like then STEM Connector and Million Women Mentors. So it was always a sense of giving with purpose. And it brings me to today to not only work with Sharon on companies of purpose, but to work everywhere that we can to bring positivity, passion, and purpose to our legacy.
Thank you so much, Edie. Sharon, I'd love to hear your perspective as well. Was there a moment in your life or career when you felt a strong sense of calling toward purpose?
It is my true honor to co-chair Entrepreneurs of Purpose with my mentor, sister, friend, Edie Fraser, one of the most pivotal women of our time. So this is a great place to be. It's a wonderful place to be, especially during the times that we're living right now, where purpose is so incredibly important. And I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. As a 5th-generation Nashville native, I grew up for the first 8 years of my life in the housing projects in Nashville. What did that do for me? It taught me that to so much is given, so much is required, as our biblical verse says. When I left that situation, when my father became a firefighter for the metropolitan government, we were able to move out of that situation and move into our housing. However, I never forgot the ones who were left behind. And as a young girl, I was 8 years old, I always thought there was something I can do to help my girlfriends move out of that situation. And I've been driven ever since. I owned a mortgage company while I was early in my career. And when we sold that company, I was able to invest in opportunities that would bring me to where I am today. But I'll just stop and reflect back on my great great grandmother, who was sold for $35 for in a slave trade in Atlanta, Georgia. That resonated in my heart and my spirit, and I always knew that I am her dream. So the milestones that have happened to me in my life and my career have brought me to where I am today, in a pivotal moment when I realized that entrepreneurship just wasn't about building a business. It's about building a legacy. And as a woman of color, I recognize the responsibility and the privilege of creating pathways where there were few, especially for women who look like me. I had a level of responsibility for giving back that was not just for me, especially, it was for the journey. That moment came when I landed my first contract as an entrepreneur, and I realized that I stayed the course, kept the faith, kept the resilience that it took, even today, to build a business. And then my purpose is coming into alignment, especially when I met Edie Fraser. It's the culmination of the things that have happened in my career and in my life that's brought me right here where I am today. I'm honored to be a part of the Women Business Collaborative and to co-chair the Entrepreneurs of Purpose with Edie Fraser, to create, to empower, and to open doors for others.
Sharon, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, shifting into the topic of purpose and leadership. How has your sense of purpose influenced the way you lead, whether in business, philanthropy, or mentorship? Sharon, feel free to kick us off.
My sense of purpose is fueled behind everything I do. In business, I lead with integrity. That's the hallmark of who a person really is and how you're going to leave a legacy. What will people say in the years after you've departed this earth? And a long-term vision that centers people over profit. Because when you invest in people, profit follows. I always say that. It's very important as I mentor young women who are coming up as entrepreneurs in business. In philanthropy, my business is anchored in creating access, especially for young girls and women entrepreneurs. You know, if you don't get a seat at the table, you don't have the opportunity to move forward in your business and your careers. So I really feel like, and for those who don't know what a Rolodex is, I think, Edie, you know, right? It is our contacts that we've garnered over the course of the years in business that we share, and we share openly with those who are coming behind us. And in mentorship, I think my purpose is to pour into others what was once poured into me, wisdom and truth and encouragement, strategy, which is extremely important. I believe that leadership is service. And that's one of the areas that I will continue to give back in my life. And I think service gives that giving back in my life gives that purposeful meaning of service and philanthropy and giving back to others and sharing the gifts that were shared with us.
Thank you, Sharon. Edie, I'd love to hear how purpose has revealed itself in your journey.
Well, I just share the passion for service that Sharon has expressed. And as I learned some lessons early, as Sharon and I think both probably wanted to be and were present in everything we did. But I got elected to a varsity cheerleader in the 10th grade. And then The next year, I lost. And a teacher said to me, learn from this. Go prove that you can go cheer a year for the junior varsity and use your humility to drive your leadership. I took her advice. I then became chairman and president of the school for my senior year. But I learned that it was so important to engage and celebrate others, to listen to others, to show some humility, because it was so important to hear others' voices, which we practice today. The voices as we look to engage and celebrate as leaders others, because if we reach up, it's one thing to help each other scale their business, their life, be there in health crisis to our families and friends. But then as we grow with our Women Business Collaborative and leaders and with the other organizations, Sharon and I are also involved with the youth program of Enterprising Women Foundation. And we keep upping the game. Like when we did Million Women Mentors, we got to 2.5 million commitments for women to mentor with 20 hours a year. We're now going to 30 communities with the Enterprising Women Youth Mint for Underserved. So we will never stop making certain that we lift up others and that Sharon and I use contacts to contracts. We introduce one another with our relationships every day to be of service.